Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. How is everybody today? All right. My name is Evan Anderson. I'm with Gizmonics, and I get to be your MC today. As you probably have guessed, we have been renewed for season 13 here on Million Cups. Yep. And it's not a 7-episode season, not an 8, not even a 10. It's like a 43-episode season. So anybody thinking they want to binge it today, I'm sorry, but we're only going to drop one episode per week. So I know it's tough. So anyway, welcome. Here we are, season 13. How many of you have never been to a 1 Million Cups before? Oh, look at the newbies. Welcome. Well, we're going to try to fill you in a little bit on what you got into and what your friend got you into or whatever brought you here today. We're going to tell you a little bit about what Million Cups is. So as I mentioned, this is our 13th year of doing this here in Bismarck-Mandan. We put an entrepreneur, community builder, somebody that's doing something interesting and exciting in our community. We put them on this stage every Wednesday morning at 8:30, and we let them tell their story. They share their information, tell us what they're doing, what they got going on, and we get to listen. But then we get to engage at the end. We're going to have Q&A at the end where you can think of some good questions and really interact with our speakers and get your questions answered. Maybe ask them a hard question, make them think a little bit. So why do we do this? Well, we are asking the question, can we change the face of our startup community over 1 million cups of coffee? So that's why we're here. So if you thought you were here for something else, well, hang with us. All right, so we have changed up our sponsor slides a little bit. So the first page, these sponsors have chipped in some cold hard cash in an amount of $1,000 or more. So we wanted to kind of highlight those folks. So thank you to them, and we do have some representatives of some of those here today. So thank you for supporting us. The next page, we have $500 sponsors, and this is the group that has done that for us, again, in cash. It doesn't take a lot of money to keep this thing going. We do pay rent to Dakota Stage, which we like. We like to support this organization as well. They do a lot of neat things for our community. And we do pay for some coffee beans, basically. So, and then special events. How many of you were at our end-of-year celebration over at Threefold? Awesome. That was really fun, right? So we like to do a few events, maybe throw a breakfast in once in a while. So we need to have a little bit of cash to do that, and these folks help us make that happen. And then the next slide, these are organizations that allow their folks to come in and help us on our organizing committee. We've got a team of, what do we have, seven, 8 people, something like that on the organizing committee that all volunteers, and we get together and make this event happen every single Wednesday. So these companies allow their folks to take the time to come and make this all happen. So we very much appreciate them. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to have Q&A at the end. So I always encourage you to, as we're hearing from our speakers today, be thinking about some questions. And also I want to welcome the folks out on YouTube. We stream this on YouTube. And you can ask questions there too. I know we've got a couple out there today, so they can type those in. Adam will get those to me here on the monitor. So, but be thinking about your questions so that when we get to that point, I see our Ross, the mug runner, is here. He'll bring the microphone to you, and you can get those asked. So be thinking about those questions as we're hearing from these guys this morning. Okay, we've got some community announcements to kick off the year. It is National Bobblehead Day, which, okay. Bobbleheads are kind of weird, aren't they? I don't know, they make me feel kind of hoinky. Yeah, I don't know. But, thanks, Adam. They're funnier when you know the people whose heads, and speak of the devil, Tyler, you make a good bobblehead. He does have a big head, actually. All right. So whatever you do to celebrate National Bobblehead Day, get out there and do it today. Oh, look at that. Nice. All right, Mug Club, Janya.
So for my new folks and for my regulars, we've got a whole new 2026 version of the Mug Club, a total refresh. First of all, in celebration of it being the 13th year, the stickers this year are going to be black. So you will know that you have a 2026 when it's black. Ooh. Thank you for noticing. And before I move on to the rest, I just have to say, for those of you that didn't make it to our end of year celebration, we always give out little Christmas ornaments that we make, and there are some spares up where the Mug Club is set up. So before you leave today, or we'll have them out for a couple of weeks. So if you're a collector of such things, snag them. Okay, now we can go to the next. All right, for 2026, everybody. We've got it shaken up a little bit. So a black sticker. We're also kind of, we'll see how this goes. I know, Alicia, you're not going to be happy with me because we're kind of clean slating it this year because our regulars from years past, then I offer new swag and they're not eligible. So we're starting with black sticker collection this year, but maybe for some of those top tier awards, we'll have to grandfather in some white stickers, okay? Because some of my hardcore collectors are going to be mad at me. So, but anyway, for right now, with five, you get a sticker for your stickers. So we've got these cool big 1 million cup stickers. They look great on a computer, or if you want to put them on your bumper, you could. But at 10, we have the 1 million cups notebook and pen. Thank you. I stole it back. So we've got the notebook and pen, so you can take notes of all the cool ideas that you heard at 1 million cups each week. At 15, this is where things get new. We have an exclusive, this 1MC only, Bismarck Mandan leather coasters. You want this, yeah. We custom made with my own 2 little hands. Well, and a really big laser cutter. But anyway, are they? Well, no, they cooled off. They were hot. At 20, you get the 1 million cups t-shirt. This is where we'll talk, Alicia. We'll make grandfather some stuff in. All right, we have them available in long sleeve, short sleeve, and all sizes. I know, because I've organized them into baggies, so we're ready. At 25, you get the 1 million cups exclusive cutting board. Okay, yeah. If you came to the party, you saw these were our gift this year for our 1 million cups organizer committee, but we're opening up. There is very limited supply, so get to that 25 as quick as you can. And then finally, the Golden Cup Award, which includes all colors of stickers, and that is basically, for those folks who have been here 50 or more times, and it's, your name goes here on the back, so it'll be customized for you. So anyway, I am going to shut up now because I really want to hear from our presenters, but that's the Mug Club for 2026.
All right, thank you, Janya. It's just so fun seeing these mugs running around with all these stickers on, so keep those collections going. All right, Bega. Janya.
Oh, I got so excited I forgot. Okay. So this month at Bega, they've got a neat art. They always feature 2 artists, one in the big space, and that's going to be Melissa Gordon, and it's called Walk in the Badlands. And this is a series of paintings that she did for a book by the same name. And so the author of the book, and the book is going to be there, and she'll be signing those, but you'll get to see all of these pieces. And so if you're fond of the Badlands, of that beautiful space in western North Dakota, she's got some lovely pieces to take a look at. And then they also in the smaller room have their member artist who's got a photographic journey, Burley and beyond. But I'd like to, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, no, great question. Yeah, Melissa is local. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about Bega is they really highlight local and regional artists, but very often local. And the artist reception is this Friday from 5 to 7. And I would say if you have never gone to an art reception and you're feeling a little hoinky about it, I am going to be there, Evan's going to be there, you will see friendly faces. But if you've never been, I highly recommend it. And this one being such a local topic, just come, they always have live music, It's got a cool vibe. They have wine, they have snacks, and you just get to look at beautiful art and chit-chat with really fun people in the community. So I hope to see you there.
Thank you. All right. Caitlin?
Good morning. So I'm Caitlin. I'm with University of Mary. And on January 27th, we're going to kick off a book club for local leaders and community members who just want to kind of grow professionally and network with some other people throughout our community. So we're going to meet every other Tuesday at our Front Avenue location, which is in the old public health building, just right across the street. We're going to meet from 8 to 9 and just do different book studies. So the first one we're going to start out with is Atomic Habits. We'll read a couple chapters every couple weeks and just come together as a group to discuss them. So if you would like to join us, more than welcome to. 8 to 9, you don't need to register or RSVP or anything. Just show up and come join us. Bring your book with you, and we'll have refreshments and spend an hour together just growing.
Right. Thank you, Caitlin. All right. Mark. Where did Mark go? Mark. Huh. That's weird. Well, okay. But he's here. All right. Well, so you can read. I'm not gonna read this to you, but let's give it a minute. With the North Dakota Women's Business Center. Right. Okay. Right. They're giving Hearts Day. Ah, gotcha. Okay. Okay. NW. Oh. Hand a QR code if you need to run up. Okay. All right. Yep. We'll invite him back with this slide next week. Maybe. Okay. Okay. Anybody else with an announcement this morning? Oh, yes, Tate.
Hi, I'm Tate. I'm the event manager over at the Chamber EDC, and I definitely owe Evan a graphic. But we have an event coming up called State of the Cities. That is on February 3rd. The purpose of this event is it is a morning event where we bring the mayors of Bismarck and Mandan to come out and share what's going on in our local communities. And then we also bring in a national economist who will give you more of a national outlook of what's going on and kind of give you a better idea of where to move your business forward. We also have a mixer on Thursday at Bartlett and West too, if you'd like to show up. It's 4:30 to 6:30.
Thanks, Tate. Chamber EDC is a big supporter of 1 Million Cups, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right, I think then if there are no other announcements, we will get on it. If you recall, for some of our regulars, we did a series on AI last year. We started out with Terry Pilling from UMary talking about some nuts and bolts under the hood stuff with AI. Then we had Arnie and Michael that came and talked another time about some kind of practical use cases, day in and day out sort of stuff. And then we had Faith Heron that kind of prognosticated a little bit, talked about where this might be going and you know, kind of dusted off the crystal ball the best we could and talked a little bit about the future. But one of the things we really didn't talk about in that series was kind of some legal implications. So we got you covered. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We've got John Sanstead and Isabelle Sanstead-Eastin, father-daughter, if you didn't already know that or figure it out. Known them both for many, many years, and I'm really excited to hear what they have to say on this topic, because it is an element or an aspect of AI that I think is often maybe not thought about. And so again, be thinking about questions, because I'm already working on a few here too. So let's give them a round of applause and hear what they've got to say.
All right, good morning. As Evan said, we're going to talk about the legal perspective on AI, including kind of liabilities to look out for and what you should be aware of when you are using any of those AI-generated services. There's legal implications using generative AI pretty much in anything that you do, and any prompt you enter, but specifically if you're asking it to draft contracts, if you're asking it to create a logo, or the liability that you impose on yourself by using generative AI.
And let me back up just a step. You know, our focus has always been on helping small businesses. And what we always want to find for small businesses is to protect you from liability as best we can. Because at the end of the day, getting sued is not very fun, and it's very expensive. So spending a little money up front doing things the right way versus getting sued for doing things the wrong way. And if you do things right up front the right way, doesn't mean you're not going to get sued. It just hopefully limits it. So really what we want to focus on today is what do businesses need to do to protect themselves as much as they can when it comes to the use of AI. Because I know a lot of businesses are using generative AI. It is a great tool. It is way smarter than me. I have to ask Isabelle how to use it. So if you want to know how to use it, don't ask me. But you know, there's some quirks in the law that haven't kept up with AI. And this is an example when we talk about copyright. The Copyright Office has come down and said, we've looked at AI, we understand what AI is. You can copyright anything that you as a human do, but you cannot copyright anything that AI does. So if you have a work that's solely based on AI, you're not going to get a copyright. If you have a work that's based on a combination, you have to disclose to the Copyright Office what was human-made, what was AI-made. And you can only then copyright what is human-made. The rest is unprotected. So if you run a marketing firm and someone comes in and asks you to do an ad, and you do a killer ad and they want it copyrighted, you have to keep this in mind. And what I'd recommend are two things. One, you let the client know that anything that is AI generated cannot be protected. Two, you make sure when you make your copyright application, you differentiate between the human work and the AI work.
All right, so the biggest portion of AI that we've seen in our practice recently is businesses coming to us with a contract that they've drafted via AI, and they may have found themselves in some trouble, or they're wondering if it protects them. And most of the time it doesn't. AI pulls from different resources, but AI doesn't have a legal background to know, like, if you need an indemnification clause, if you need to limit your liability in a contract. And so I've ran several tests of generating contracts with AI, and most of the time those kind of clauses are missed. And so that's kind of the biggest, I think, warning, is that you can have AI generate a contract, but like John said, you should probably have someone review it just to make sure you're covered. You have those indemnification clauses, you have the limitations of liability. You don't want, if you do get sued under this contract and AI decides you're going to pick your venue as Texas, you don't want to have to defend your lawsuit in Texas. So it's good to always have someone kind of go through it.
Yeah, I mean, most contracts that the AI comes up with are what I'd refer to as sketchy boilerplate contracts. First time someone sent it to me, I honestly thought they put it together just thinking about it for a couple minutes. I mean, it was pretty bare bones, and in my opinion, it didn't protect them. I mean, every contract should be personal to the situation that you're dealing with. So just putting in some prompts in AI to generate a contract, beyond risky in my book.
So John already did talk about this a little bit, but AI and intellectual property. AI overall, for most of the programs, don't scan or won't give you a heads up if what they're pulling from is copyrighted or trademarked. So they could be giving you or generating a design, but they're taking the elements of that design that are copyright or trademarked. And so that leaves you open again to liability if all of a sudden the person whose trademark AI took from comes after you of, well, that's basically what we have trademarked.
Well, and I mean, let's take it from beginning to end. You know, you are a marketing firm and you need to create a logo, design logo, along with some advertising. You go to AI because AI can generate this stuff in minutes. You create something through AI, show it to the client loves it. The client then spends all kinds of money to use this design to get his or her or its name out there in the industry. Fast forward 6 months, a year, one of these trolling programs comes upon your design. They find that, wait a minute here. This uses an image that's copyrighted by Getty Images. This uses a logo that's confusingly similar to this other logo. So what you want to do is you want to be really careful. Using AI doesn't mean you quit doing a search to make sure you're not infringing anyone. Using AI doesn't mean that it's automatically protected. If you get sued or your client gets sued, I can tell you who your client's going to turn to first. It's going to be you, and they're going to sue you. And you as the company are going to look and go, wow, I'm going to sue ChatGPT because they're the ones that gave it to me. Well, if you've read the agreement where you said, click this because you read and understand this, in that agreement, which none of you have read, it clearly states, right? In that it clearly states that this program is as is, you use it at your own risk, you agreed to indemnify us, hold us harmless, and we give no warranties. They all say it. So what happens then is you get sued, you want to look to your provider, and your provider's going to send you a letter and say, too bad, you're going to assume our defense because you've agreed to indemnify us. So you're going to sit there holding the bag for everybody. And that's not a bag you want to be holding. So once again, it's being smart, thorough on the front end so that you don't get caught on the back end. By the way, has anyone read the terms and conditions?
I mean, I did preparing for this, and it was quite boring. So who owns AI output? So when you type in a prompt to AI and ask it a question, who owns the response they give? Can you use it? Do you own it? Is it ChatGPT's property? They disclaim all of it. It's technically in ChatGPT or AI's world or view, you now own it, which is another way that they're able to limit their liability. So yeah, even though you own AI output, again, you have to think and research your trademarks, your copyrights, and make sure that you're not infringing on someone else.
You own it, but for intellectual property purposes, you didn't create it, if that makes sense. So both copyrights and patents need to be made by a human for them to be registrable. So if you put something in there and you've got a great idea for some new tool, and you put it in AI and AI comes out with this tool, you can't patent that because it wasn't created by you, it wasn't created by a human. You're out of luck. However, if you say, that's okay, I don't need to patent it, I'm going to go market it, and I'm going to sell it. But what you didn't do is you didn't do a patent search to see if you're infringing on anyone else's patents, because remember, AI grabs from existing content. You've grabbed from AI, you've come up with this tool, you're marketing it. Someone comes in and says, hey, wait a minute, that's my tool. You're going to get sued for infringement. And believe me, you can't say, well, wait a minute, I didn't create it. It wasn't mine. The law in that case doesn't care. You're the one that went out and marketed it, sold it, and so you're going to be the one that's liable for any infringement. Isn't it a great rosy Wednesday?
Do we still have a little bit of time yet? Okay. So AI drafted contracts we've already kind of touched on. And there's going to be a bunch of words that show up next, and I don't expect you to read them all. It's just kind of to show. So I went into ChatGPT and I asked them to draft a contract for my business. Again, look, they offer a disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. Laws may vary, so you should probably have an attorney look at that, what they give you. So the AI drafted contract, their force majeure clause, which protects you.
Force majeure is basically if there's a calamity or there's something that causes me not to be able to perform, which is beyond my control, I'm excused from the contract. And you usually want to be able to use it as an escape clause, but you don't want the other side to be able to use it as an escape clause, so you want to be pretty careful how you draft it.
And so you can see the difference between the AI drafted contract, force majeure clause, and then a contract drafted by a lawyer, and how, you don't need to read it, but how different they are in length and volume and protection. Same thing here with indemnification. Again, the AI is going to give you a very blanket statement to indemnify yourself, but an attorney is going to be able to go through and make sure that your situation for your business and your practice type is covered.
I just want to add, the one on the top is not included in the terms and conditions for the AI program you're using. It's the one on the bottom.
Again, and then this is where we get into the governing law. So if you get sued under your contract, I ran this 3 or 4 times, and 3 of the 4 times it put in a random state. So it was like Texas, Utah, and Oklahoma that I was going to be defending my contract in, where again, if you have someone look at it, you can make sure that you're not going out of state to defend your contract. That's kind of all we had prepared to show you, so.
We'd love questions. As Evan said, this is probably your only chance to get some free legal advice, so.
Take advantage of it. All right. Guys, why don't you grab a seat here? I will grab that from you. And we got Ross running the mic. So what saves you time? Having someone come in with a requirement for a contract, or having someone bring you a AI-generated contract that you have to supposedly start with? I mean, would you prefer the former?
I would prefer someone to bring a request to have us draft a contract. It's going to save, in the end, them more time and money than us going through their AI-generated contract with the fine-tooth comb to make sure that everything's caught and everything's changed that needs to be changed. If they do come with an AI-generated contract, it is something that we can work through and help them change, but 9 out of 10 times it ends up costing them more.
And if someone brings an AI-generated contract in, typically what I'll use that for is just to get an idea of where they want to end up, as opposed to trying to modify that one. I will just use it as kind of, well, here's where you want to be, then I'll just write the contract based on where they want to end up, as opposed to pulling terms from the AI-generated.
Okay. Shania?
Are there any light duty legal
childish places where AI might be appropriate. And I'll give you an example, and then you're going to tell me I did a terrible thing. So I recently had to...
True confession.
Yeah, I know. It's good for the soul. I recently had to do a crummy letter, not crummy as in bad quality, but a crummy letter for a trust. And so I used AI to generate the crummy letter. How bad is that? No, I don't want to know that specific, but are there any light duty where it's
Oh, the
okay?
cops are coming through the door right
God.
now.
I will say AI definitely has a place. AI isn't all bad. I use it myself to kind of as like a starting off point for several things, whether it's to get ideas or sometimes I use it to argue back and forth. So I'm not saying it's a bad tool. I just think you got to watch for your own protection for legal issues.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I use AI if I'm working for a client out in the oil field and I don't know diddle about the whole process, about, drilling. So I may use that to learn about it, and based on that knowledge, then I can draft a contract so that I actually look smarter than I am. And I think AI has its a great place. It is an amazing tool. But to actually use it to create a final legal letter or document, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to send the letter or the contract, and the other side may very likely take it to their lawyer, and their lawyer's going to say, this is easy to defeat. Look, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, they forgot to cover this. And so you just want to make sure that, when you're in that realm, you've got yourself covered.
I'm kind of seeing an interesting theme too. I know Arnie talked about, I know your company uses AI quite a bit, but you also talked about the importance of really vetting the results that you're getting. And I think you talk a lot about that in terms of, who owns this content and what do we need to watch out for, and do we need to do a search to make sure that we aren't infringing on somebody else's IP. And it's kind of interesting. It seems like, but I think a lot of people that use AI just take the output and run.
Exactly. As long as it's a great resource as long as you are fact checking it.
Like I said before, AI is great. It is not a one-stop shop. And I understand small businesses don't necessarily like to go hire an expensive attorney to go through a contract or go through, marketing piece or whatever it may be. But my only comment would be, it's a whole lot cheaper to do that than get a cease and desist letter, then have to go explain to your customer why they can't use that logo, that advertising, whatever it is, or the fact that the contract you sent has a million holes in it. So once again, it's a little offense goes a long ways.
Cool, thank you. Tyler.
So at SBDC, of course, we're using AI like everybody else quite a bit. And we often talk about the AI process as an Oreo cookie, that there's human input at the beginning. AI does some generally really good work for you, and then make sure there's human output at the end before you set anything off. But specifically with generative AI and for branding or logo generation, what do you need to do to prove what was human designed, or where your creative input is there, where you can protect that? So, like for instance, and I don't know some of the graphic design folks, can AI generate a vector file for you on a logo? Is that, Ben says yes.
Probably not all of them, but I think there are probably specialized AI that probably could.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, like, do you know what is the patent office looking for to prove that this was your creative input and not just AI generated?
Well, and what magic sauce the patent office or the copyright office uses to go through these and see, here would be my thought, is that don't lie to the patent office or the copyright office, because ultimately it's just like when you think you got away with something with your mother. Ultimately, it comes back and you realize you didn't get away with anything. So, and the problem is that if you think, okay, I'm going to submit this copyright or I'm going to submit this patent in my name as the inventor or the creator, and you know, if you're doing it for someone else, you tell your client, yep, you're ready to go, this is copyrighted, and the next thing you know, you get a letter from the Copyright Office saying, you know, we've determined that this is AI generated, we are not going to copyright this. Then the onus is back on you to prove to them that in fact you did it. And how do you do that? I would imagine you can show work processes that you've used to create, whether it's the tool that you're trying to patent or the design that you're trying to copyright. And once you submit those and show, yes, they're iterations of the thing you created, then they go, okay, you're the author. But if you can't do that, I think you run into problems.
Looks like we got a question from Arizona that says, I want to know why companies don't have to disclose you're talking to their AI person, meaning not really a person, I assume, especially given the fact that they have to disclose, you know, this for marketing materials that were produced for you, et cetera.
Here's a big issue that's in AI right now is privacy. So you call up to Blue Cross Blue Shield as an example, and you may be talking to an AI person who you're just talking about your medical information, your insurance coverage, and the question becomes, okay, what happens to that information? Is that a third-party AI company, most likely, that's churning this information into something that goes hopefully to a person at some point? And so there's been several lawsuits because these third parties will then use this information they gather from talking to a Blue Cross Blue Shield customer to further train their AI program. And so that we get into all kinds of HIPAA violations, we get into all kinds of privacy violations. So it's created a big mess. And a lot of companies now are implementing pretty stringent policies about, one, you have to disclose that this is an AI program that's using this. Your information may be used to further advance this AI program. So that there's certainly things out there right now that are in the courts about this very issue.
And I would say that we'll probably see some more federal regulation come down as AI is used more and as some of these cases get settled, where they will have to disclose whether you're talking to an AI chatbot or if you're talking to an AI robot on the phone. I would guess at some point there will be federal regulations and laws requiring them to tell you that at the outset.
You had mentioned, John, that, you know, the legal system is trying to catch up. The pace with which AI is moving, are they ever going to catch up?
You know, it's, I mean, the only thing I can analogize it to is when the web was all of a sudden became the web. There was all kinds of litigation because Google was pulling information from all kinds of sources so that when you put in your query that it could produce whatever sites it thought was most close to your query. And there was all kinds of litigation about that because, you know, you're stealing copyright information to do this. And ultimately it kind of got settled out. The law got a little more structured. But it was 10 years down the road before there were firm decisions because we're talking about billions of dollars. And so they're more than willing to fight over billions of dollars. And so the law will not have caught up with AI for years and years and years, which means that people are going to be suing because what one court in California decides, a court in North Dakota may decide totally different. And we're going to have that hopscotch in the law for quite a while yet.
Candace?
Yep. This is so good. Thank you. Okay, so you've talked about contracts and patents and copyrights. And so I basically use AI as a search engine. I mean, I'm not really well versed in it, to be honest, but I do know of people who have used AI to do presentations to companies, to board of directors. They just go, create for me this. And as you said, they're gathering information from other sources. So is there any, I mean, to me, that's almost like, I mean, is there like an intellectual infringement? Is there something like that that people should be cautious about because they're not citing sources, right? You can't cite the sources necessarily.
Speaking from a lawyer's perspective, there are lawyers out there who have thought about, you know, I don't have time to write this brief. I'm going to have AI write the brief for me. And what's happened is there's what's called hallucinations in AI, where it will come up with something that does not exist. And so what the courts have found is that these lawyers are citing cases that do not exist. And so needless to say, there's been a number of lawyers who've been sanctioned because they're citing the cases, they're representing to the court, this is a case that supports mine, the case doesn't exist. So with respect to your example, you're going to, first of all, I'd be a little nervous to just have AI create it and go to my board of directors, because what happens if someone on that board knows more than what I know through AI? But on top of that, if what you're representing to them is not true, because there are hallucinations in there, there's bad data in there, because AI is only as good as the data it's gathered. And, you know, this person may be out of a job if their presentation was less than accurate.
And I will say, just to add, as far as like IP implications, if it's putting together a whole presentation for you, chances are it's pulling some of those presentation points or slides from something that's out there. And so then, yeah, you are talking about intellectual property of another person being reused and not cited properly. So there are legal implications for that.
And that's one of the things that's come up on college campuses, because students have started to have their term papers written by AI, and professors have figured it out. And so the next thing you know, they're kicked out of college because of plagiarism. So it is a great tool, but it is only that. It is a tool in your toolbox. It is not it's everything.
So from a legal standpoint, do you see some lawyers becoming quote unquote like ambulance chasers to follow through on some of this AI stuff?
You're saying that like it's something in the future.
Okay, so it is a thing now too that there are people out there just perusing for
100%. Let's just take Getty Images. If any of you have ever used a Getty image without paying the license fee, it's amazing how quickly you will get a cease and desist letter from some law firm in who knows where. And what some of these law firms do is they just go out and troll the internet. And, you know, sometimes they're hired by the company, sometimes they are just doing it and then reporting to the company and saying, you know, we'll take a third of whatever we recover. So to answer your question, they're doing it.
And ironically, I think it's probably AI that they're using to troll the internet to find these
Probably.
things, right? That kind of makes your head hurt, but and we've seen that with a product we have on Amazon. I don't think I even told you that, John, but after having the same images on Amazon for 13, 14, 15 years, we get because there was a drill in there that looked like a DeWalt, that we get this, oh, we just pulled your listing down. You're like,
yeah.
So I think AI is being used by a lot of
And
companies.
there are programs out there that, I mean, you can upload all the Getty images, and then it'll just search the web to see if it can find anything similar to any of the Getty images. And I just use Getty as an example, but there's all kinds of those. And they will scan everything, and if they find something, they will let you know.
Well, Getty certainly wouldn't want to hire somebody to do that job, but AI, can work tirelessly 24/7.
Right.
Question.
So you started with a story about a small business bringing you a contract and actually ending up creating more billable hours. Do you see AI gutting the legal profession? Because that's one of the main concerns that you hear about AI is that it's just going to destroy jobs. But because people are using AI so poorly, it's actually creating more work, not less.
We love AI.
I don't see AI completely decimating the legal field, solely for the reason of everything we've talked about. You're not going to be able to train a computer and then train everyone how to use like a highly trained computer the correct way to make sure that everything's legal and everything is covered. I do see it taking away some of like the initial work, right, of like, here's a contract that your client brings you, but I don't see it fully impacting our field the way it might others.
I could see you doing maybe less contracts and more lawsuits. Maybe.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's really one of our biggest purposes of coming today, is that we just want to get all of you thinking about how do I use AI, and what safeguards should I take to make sure that whatever I'm pushing out to my customer, to my clients, to whomever, that it's the best and you're protected. Because it's one of those things where it may save you several hours, but if you end up getting sued, it's going to take more time and money than you can imagine, and that's the problem with taking the shortcut.
Question.
I have two questions. My first question's simple. How often should a small business go see a lawyer? How should they get like advice from them? Like if you're a small business, you do $100,000 a year. How often do you see successful businesses going and seeing a lawyer consulting with you?
Evan and I kind of helped start a small business organization here in Bismarck that I don't think exists anymore. But it's one of those things where you want to know that you have someone on your side. And so if you call them once a year and send them a really nice Christmas present, or if you call them once a month, it's one of those things where you just know that if you come into something and you're like, I'm not so sure this doesn't pass the gut test, you've got someone that you can call. And so I'm not going to say you should talk to them once a month, once a week. It's just, here's the deal. Nobody went into business so that they could hire a lawyer. We understand that. We don't take it too personally. But just like an accountant, just like anything else, you just want to know that you have someone who knows your business, and you call them, they can give you an answer.
Okay. And my second question is somebody who's used AI since the week it came out. Have you started using, when you're prompting it, you're fairly limited. Have you started adding your own examples of real contracts that you like and that you've written to your own local language models that are AI that you own and own all of your data, and then have it generate contracts from you?
I don't put my own contracts in AI. It's one of those things that, every lawyer has built who does a lot of contracts. You know at first blush what you want to see in that contract, and a lot of it's personal to that contract. The boilerplate stuff, you can get that. That's no big deal. But the actual terms, both the services or products that they're going to be provided, the terms of payment, right on down the line, that's all personal to that specific contract. So I would never trust anyone or trust an agreement to just generate something that I would feel comfortable would meet your needs.
Questions? Yes.
You had talked about copyright issues and whatnot early on. This isn't necessarily AI, but a quick story from some friends of mine from Bismarck here who, you see TikTok videos and you do these little skits set to music, etc. And so they were sued because they used, I think it was Space Jam or some miscellaneous song, right? And some Joe Schmo bought the rights to it like 10 years ago, and now they're trolling the internet trying to sue everybody that has it. They were sued for 10 grand, and they had to settle out of court, and I think they settled for a couple $1,000. So I know that's out there. So my question is how do you protect that? If you're trying to do some promotional things for your business, how do you protect that from it being some miscellaneous copyrighted song from somebody that just bought the rights?
Well, we all look at the internet and go, oh, there's a cool picture. I'd like to use that. And you just pull it off and use it. Or it could be a cool song. And, you know, some of you are old enough in here that you remember Napster. I mean, that was a famous one where, hey, I like that song. I'm just going to download it. And ultimately, what the industry, whether it be the literary industry, the song industry, whatever, kind of got wise to the whole internet, and so now they have programs out there that literally troll everything. I mean, TikTok, Facebook, you name it. And they find it, and at the end of the day, if it's not something you created, and you don't know for sure if it's public domain, most likely it's going to require a license to use it. And so with respect to your example, unless you subscribe to a service that gives you a license to use those songs, you can't use those songs.
And then post them publicly is the second part of that license.
So, I know, it's all because of lawyers.
Well, we know where to place blame.
Do we have time for one more?
Let's a quick one. Yep.
All right. So I own and run a private therapy practice here in town, and one of the implementations that I use for AI is AI transcription and note taking. And so it takes like 1/10 of the time to write out a note because it runs the transcription, and my understanding is that it deletes that transcription once the note is generated. I have a consent that the EHR that I use just gives out, but I'm wondering if there's any, like, with the transcription services of like client data that like, or is maybe hidden liability there?
Remember those terms and conditions?
Yeah.
It's in there.
Okay.
So I would just take a really close look to see, because a lot of them will say, I mean, essentially, they're going to use your data to help train their AI. Yep. And that makes me nervous because we're talking about HIPAA information.
Right. Yep.
And you just got to be really careful, because if the patient goes after anyone, they're going to go after you. Right. So I just, have a couple big cups of coffee and sit down and try to get through those terms and conditions and just see what they say.
And also just, there you go. There you go.
Okay. Well, we made it to the final question. Ross, you haven't asked this question for, what, a month or so? So you've been practicing? You ready?
Yeah. Well, the problem is this is kind of a unique one, so it's not even the real question.
I know.
But anyway.
Keep you on your toes.
So thanks to you guys for doing this presentation. I think there's some really valuable information that I know I learned. I'm sure there's plenty of people that have too. So our typical question is, what can we do to help you guys continue to succeed? But in this case, what would be your final piece of advice to give to people who would like to use AI?
I think the final piece of advice is AI is great. AI is a wonderful tool that exists that I use personally. He uses. The best way to protect yourself while using AI is to make sure that you are not creating any liability situations for yourself. If you don't want to or can't hire an attorney, read through the contract yourself very, very slowly, several times, and then just be aware of the copyrights and trademarks and use wisely.
I've been doing this for a long time. And my advice would be, you know, you didn't go into business to practice accounting. You didn't go into business to, be a logistics person. You went into business because you love something. So at the end of the day, you know, you hire an accountant, find a lawyer that you trust that isn't going to bleed you dry, and you can just drop off a contract and say, hey, can you take a look at this? Or they've put contracts together for you before. I mean, I have a lot of clients who'll just say, hey, I need a contract for this. And I'll just put the contract together. I know what they do. I know what they're looking for. So, you know, as a small business person, I would say find that relationship, and you have someone to lean on then. And the other thing I would mention is if you're going to use AI, check your insurance, because not all insurance will cover you when it comes to AI type stuff. So just make sure you check it in the unfortunate event you do get sued.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. Round of applause for these two. I should also mention they'll be available down here for a few minutes, and they've got some cards and such, so avail yourself of that. Let's talk a little bit about what is coming next. We're just so excited to have such a good start to season 13 here, hoping that all of you new folks found something valuable here enough to bring you back next week. And next week we've got Sovereign, which works in the Bitcoin realm a little bit. So we're kind of keeping it a little techie here, but I think that's going to be very interesting. And then we have Rhetoric Art on January 21st. That's really interesting. He's like building seeds into art pieces that you can then plant, which is just kind of a completely different concept. And then on January 28th, Deidre's going to be here. We're doing Giving Hearts Day, which is something we try to do every year. She's going to bring probably at least a couple of participants from this year's Giving Hearts Day. So that is the lineup. I'm happy to report we've got like 9 or 10 presenters already lined up for this year, and more asking. So that's really encouraging for those of us on the organizing committee who have to make sure that we keep that pipeline full. So please make plans to join us. We've got a new QR code in the middle there, and that is for our YouTube. So we used to stream on Facebook. They changed their policies about saving videos, left us kind of holding the bag. We had to hurry up and download 300 hours of video or something like that so it wouldn't get erased. So anyway, YouTube is the new home. So if you can't make it here, we'd love to have you in person always. But if you're out of town, whatever, in Arizona, you can join us live via YouTube. So that is the QR code there. We've got our Facebook link. That's a great way to really keep tabs on what's coming up, that kind of information. And then also we do have a LinkedIn page as well. So those are the ways to, and then the 1mcbizman701@gmail.com. Sorry about that email address. We know that's ridiculous, but most of us have memorized it by now. But that's a best way. If you even have a slide for community announcements, those kinds of things, that's a great way to reach out directly to us, and we'll take care of it. Or if you're thinking about wanting to present, that's a great way to get in touch with us. That's all I got today. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next Wednesday.